bit challenging after lunch, and it is so somehow things that we have to develop together to be brought tomorrow morning, yeah, to the ASEAN Secretariat to have an interface meeting, convey our message, convey our voices directly in the ASEAN process. So I think from this morning exercise, we have learned a lot, yeah, from Ibu Dina Prapto, yeah, that she was sitting as an ICHER previously, but now we have some new faces, yeah, Pak Lim, and then also, so maybe you can have a short introduction, so then everyone knows everyone. Of course, we didn't know everyone, but I think we can have a start with introducing my new face from here. Supposed to be from yesterday, right?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Some of you maybe already know me. Pak Lim, see you again. We met in many events, online Zoom and so on.
Especially
my name Arif Wibowo. I'm the last 2 years I'm working in Indonesian NGO, but the headquarters is in German. In German, ICLE. ICLE is a local government development for sustainability. So the issue is sustainability.
All right.
Then before that, mostly my time was working with the government, Ministry of Environment and Forestry in the last 10 years and the climate change issues.
Great.
That's why I'm here. I shared a lot with Ibu Malali before, yes, because we were discussed with stakeholders dealing with vulnerable groups. So I think it's very strategic event this year. This time, I think, and thank you very much for this invitation again to meet you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak. Okay, let's start our session today, this afternoon. But I think, Pak Lim, do you have some words to say prior to the development of our statement together? I offer to you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Good to see everybody here. Welcome to the new people who are joining us to help us shape our statement. And I think tomorrow, don't forget that we are going to do a lot of distillation for what we are doing today. We only have 3 minutes. Have we decided who's going to give the statement? Okay, so it's something you need to decide, and then we also need to decide on what we want to say.
Exactly.
And I was a bit, I quickly reminded everybody in the ADF discussion group that actually our intervention is on the ADF political
yes.
blueprint, and not
Yes.
just the ASEAN Enabling Master Plan that we are so engaged about. So let's think very clearly. And I think last night as we went through our ADF working meeting, we have highlighted some issues which I think is quite relevant to the APSC. So I think we can maybe resurrect some of these statements as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Lim, for the clear, direction. What are we going to have tomorrow? Only 3 minutes, and then assessing the political and security pillar in ASEAN. Of course, the ASEAN Master Plan already included in the Master Plan the political section on it. So I'd like to have a refreshment prior us to have a group discussion maybe later on to come up with at least 3 things. First thing is about the issues itself that we have to explore further, whether the issues have been already included, person with disability, the participation, and what kinds of role that PWD has been involved in those issues. So later on, the things will be most likely doing it that way. So of course we want to come up with political security, as Pak Ali mentioned, from the Enabling Master Plan. Is already take up some kind of it. So I'm happy that if we could already circulate the Master Plan document, also political security document. And also we hear in this morning that recently there is a document came out from the trafficking, active, yeah, dealing with disability and also trafficking issues, and also there were 2024 document on the disaster risk management, yeah, and then there are three things, yeah, the political issues, and then role of organization and levels of participation. But next week. So, in the political security, after we assess, especially me and Wike doing a lot of kind of like an exchange about this, at least we are going to juggling with these issues. First is about the access to the justice, including political rights, including freedom of expression, association, assembly, and also election. We discussed a bit whether the election is inclusive enough or no for persons with disability, including how the law enforcers, how they treat persons with disability, whether they have like a sensitivity or no in their services, legal assistance, as well as whether they provide certain reasonable accommodation or no on their service and program. So I think this cluster we can later on discuss in one particular groupings. So I thought it will be divided into three groups. The second group dealing with transnational crime, including trafficking person, illicit drugs, refugees, and disability. So I think it is also so much related to the issues of employment, yeah, as Budina mentioned this morning, that a lot of cases happening that after certain risks faced by the workers, they end up with certain disability. And also there are a lot of cases, even though it is mentioned by the recent document that I mentioned earlier, that very much limited number or data talking about trafficking and disability, but there are some cases of trafficking also involved. So I'm happy also if people later on also circulate the publication to be the reference. And last but not least, we will deal with the issues of disaster risk reduction or disaster management. We all know that somehow when the disaster is happening, the least those who are so much suffering somehow disability group, that they are the access, the support, the service is not really accessible for them to make an evacuation and so on and so forth. I think we will also discuss a lot in the times of COVID maybe as our reflection, whether the support, the measures throughout the COVID time, it is accessible or no. That's maybe can be our issues to be discussed, and we can come up with certain recommendation, and also dealing with the issue of climate change. Yesterday we discussed with Yosa, but now I know there is an expert here sitting with us, so I think we can also come up with these issues. So in each group, my suggestion is that we will discuss about the issues itself, whether the root causes, whether the recommendation to make these issues is also accessible to us, whether it's also acknowledging us, and so on and so forth, and then some recommendations toward the issue itself. And then the second of all, we'd like to put ourselves, I mentioned earlier while moderating Dina, I think it is a time for ADF to reclaiming our space, because previously during the development of ASEAN Master Plan, we were getting involved so deeply in every single meeting of the arrangement. And then now, during the implementation time of Master Plan, we don't know, whether it has been already implemented or no. So I think we need to reclaim our space again. What kinds of role that are we going to be involved in the Master Plan political security blueprint, that we can also come up with certain recommendations, such as we become a pool of expert, we can provide data, we can be an assessor, we can be anything that you wish to also ADF can be playing a role in it. And then the last thing is about the levels of participation. Now, I think this is the breakout question about the participation. We will discuss about the uh, how, the observation how the Organization of Personal Disabilities has been involved to the participate in the ASEAN Security Community program, project, dialogue, meeting. Maybe this also a part of exploring whether the political pillar already recognize DPO or no. So then maybe we all can have our own observation. And then what mechanism you'd like to suggest in other ASEAN political security community for having a meaningful participation? For example, have a representation in the political security conference, mechanism for sharing lesson learned, and back practice, and so on and so forth. This morning, Ibu Dina suggested a very good term already. Come up with a dedicated mechanism to have a regular update, information, and coordination. I guess this is something that's still lacking. So by this, I think we will already have like a kind of criticizing the issues itself, and then the process itself, and the participation process, and our role in it. So I guess, well, after the breakout group, and I'd like to ask in one particular group, you also assign a rapporteur to take note, and then it will be compiled later on. So then we will have a clear statement on the issues itself, on the process itself, and what kinds of role are we going to ask to ASEAN as a collective bargaining group to be involved in the ASEAN processes. I guess that's all are the guidance in terms of our exercise this afternoon. Is there any further concern or question from this? And if no, then let's start the exercise. Enough? All right, I will recall again, Pavika. Let's see on the groupings, Pavika. So there are three groups. Okay, there are A, B, C, or Group A, Group B, Group C, or Group 1, Group 2, Group T, whatever we want to name it later on. But Group A will deal with the issue of political rights, such as dealing with the election, access to justice, freedom of expression, assembly and association, dealing with the law enforcers, legal assistance, and whether they also have certain reasonable accommodation or not in their service. So please do your exercise within the group on the Group A later on, how deal with those issues. So then you can also come up with a clear suggestion or recommendation. Group B or Group 2 will dealing with the issue of transnational crimes, including trafficking person, maybe there is something about the illicit drugs, issues of the current situation, war and conflict happening a lot in the world, including in the region, have a lot of displacement, refugees, and disabilities. Yes?
So, I'm thinking of the
Second group.
Topics. This is my personal opinion.
Yeah.
We are still far away from this topic. Transnational crime, including trafficking in persons, illicit drugs, refugee, of course, disability. We will not, of course, accept disability. So,
What's
I'm not quite,
confident?
not quite confident talking about these transactional crimes and how disability, person with disability inside there. And so I don't know if someone or three ones has already have mastered this issue. It will be good, but so far I don't have any data related
Thank
to
you.
this one.
Thank you, Maria, for your observation about it. If we talk to the political security issues, so it's also deal with this a lot, basically. So whether we want to respond it or no, it's really on our capacity. If we want, we don't want to really, and we have not yet having capacity on it, we want to skip it, it's okay either. So then we have only, let's say, 2 groups. We can always put it in the discussion, but we have no certain recommendation, it's okay either. So we can divide into 2 groups, let's say. So then it can be also put it up down here, maybe put down here, joining with the disaster management. So then we will have 2 groups discuss about the issue itself, the participation, and what kinds of role that we want to demand, we want to ask for ASEAN to consider our existence. Because as I mentioned earlier, during the development master plan, we get involved deeply. But now, throughout the review, implementation, we are feeling flaws on it. So I guess is that clear enough? There is a reservation for the trafficking in person. I recently sent a document to Weekly, and maybe help share to others that disability and trafficking. There is a newly publication from ASEAN Act that maybe can be a reference. All right, is there any concern, question? Pak Lim, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, I bring back the trafficking in persons.
In?
Yeah, of course, as long as we can respond.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And can I offer
The flows, yeah.
perspective to this? Because I know you're trying to go through the process to distill down to the point they want to make. But I think the whole thing about this political and security community that we are dealing with actually is something that perhaps a bit out of link with what is happening with the other 2 pillars. The other 2 pillars, namely the social and cultural community as well as the economic community. Because it's more relevant, right? And people perception
Yes.
is always relevant. To answer you about what you mentioned earlier about the ASEAN Enabling Master Plan, let me update you that we actually are in the midst of finalizing our report. Because what happened is that with defect funding, we have managed to get, and I'm representing the interest of ADF in this work. We are appointed national consultants, all right, not government related. And
Independent,
what,
yeah.
And what happens is they already done their homework, so they have some questionnaires that they work with. So at the end of the day, by end of May, they're supposed to submit the national report. Or for example, what's happening in Singapore,
Yes.
what's happening in Malaysia. And I think Malaysia, Tazali would know that our dear friend Wong is the only person with disability who is appointed to be the local consultant, national consultant. So by end of May, when all these national reports have been submitted, there is a regional consultant, one lady, Pamela from Philippines, who will bring all the reports together.
Yes.
Right? And this report will then be submitted to Somswat.
Somswat, yes.
Because Somswat is the one that's in charge of the implementation.
Yes.
Right? So by then, the only thing, I mean, we're talking about midterm review, but then because of the COVID, the whole thing was delayed by 2 to 3 years.
Yes.
So actually, we're actually doing the midterm and the final term together because we already got under 2025.
Yeah.
So we're going to see what's happening.
Sure.
All right, and there's some teething issues. Some consultants never follow the template, so we're having issue, and some have not finished the report. So it's a bit of a touch and go issue.
Yeah.
But a majority of them
Already there, yeah.
already
Yeah.
got it. So only about 2 or 3 countries have yet to submit. So that is the state of play of
Yes.
what's going on. And all those national reports are actually endorsed by the national government.
That's
Right? So although they don't appoint government people, but then the national government would have, Somswat would have already, in the country, would have already cleared their report. So it's going to be quite an interesting look at what's happening.
Sure.
So for my view, as far as the political and security community is concerned, I think we should, because it's very clear that they are not very disability inclusive. Right?
Yes.
Because when we talk about security, when we talk about political things,
Yeah.
we worry, and I'm glad you bring up some of the main points here. So maybe to short circuit what we're going to do, just think about the how to be disability inclusive in a lot of approaches that we see, like as you say, access to justice, the human trafficking and all things. But then there are a lot of also bread and butter issues. I think there are two documents that we need to think about. One is CRPD. All the 10 countries within ASEAN are already signed the CRPD. The other one is the enabling master plan that we talk about. So we have some semblance of a regional master plan for disability inclusion. So what we need to do is just play on those things. So I'm going to just stop here and then you'll think through what I want to say. All right, thank you.
Thank you for the update of the assessment. Yeah, I do also get updated from you that the national will have a report, and then there is like a certain assessment coming out from the perspective of disability.
So I'm sorry, I think I lost in the middle of the discussion, but I would like to make sure that what PT says to us is about enabling master plan, the review of ASEAN enabling master plan.
Yes.
So it is a government review, or
it's a non-government review, because we don't want government to be the one, to be taking the lead, because it's not it may be biased.
it is non-government review, but yeah.
By sanctioned by the Samswat.
By
So the Samswat of which country?
Okay.
So the instruction to them was, Samswat, you appoint somebody, but that person, the one who's doing the research on that country, must not be a government person.
Yeah, of course. So how far we know? I mean, ADF knows about this review because I don't know others steering committee. Do you know about this review? Because I don't know that it already happens. Are we involved in this?
No, we are not involved because it's Samswat driven, because the whole implementation of the enabling master plan rests now with Samswat. So it's a Samswat initiated, and of course Samswat is government, right? But then the funders say no, we do not want any government-related person to be doing the review. When we give it the funding, you must agree to find somebody who is non-government person. So Malaysia is our dear friend Wong. Singapore is also a friend that I know. He's a lecturer in special education from the National Technological University, and all the other countries. I can't recall everybody. So it is going on. It's going on. And the reason why we know is that because through the ASEAN Secretariat, the poverty.
Who's the consultation as a consultant from Indonesia? Do you know all the consultants?
I have the LinkedIn, but I can't remember the name offhand. I only know Singapore. I know Wong from Malaysia, because I know him personally.
How about Laos and Myanmar and Vietnam?
Person with some name.
You know,
So this is the thing with, sorry, just update overnight. So our contact from Samswat was previously Nasrul. He has long not been in the government, actually for about 6-7 years now. So our contact has been changed to Haji Khairul, who is currently in the welfare department for Samswat. That's the main contact. However, even when Dr. Liman was handling council, we barely got any updates from Samswat. There was barely anything from Samswat. So we could, if ever I found any reports, it was actually through APCD. APCD was actually more active in updating me than Samswat. Lulu was actually more updating me than anyone else. So we're actually having an issue with getting Samswat to, either Samswat is not updating Brunei, or my Brunei government contact is not updating us. So that is our issue right now.
Okay. Let's put it as also the issues within ASEAN that also they have initiative to assess the master plan, but not even recognized by IDF. Some recognize, some knows, but some other don't know. I'm sure that in the community level, no one almost know about this. Maybe even in the elite level like this, we all not really well aware. So I think it is kind of access of information. something that we can have to ask whether some SWAT only working in the silo within the pillar of social cultural, or do also work with ICHR and ICW so that it will be cross-cutting. It's something that we can also discuss throughout our discussion because it is related to our issues, disability. Why don't we know about this process? I guess it is a part also in the second question that we want to explore about the accessibility on the information. Maybe we can come up with a building, a dedicated, how do you call that, mechanism, regular mechanism. So these kinds of misinformation and disinformation about what's happening, we will never, like a FOMO, yeah, fear out of missing out, something like that. FOMO takes this days. FOMO. All right. Now it's going three groups again. Let's discuss about this grouping. Or it's too heavy on the first group, and then we can also share to other groups. Maybe this is something that we can later on. Otherwise, we will spend a lot of time in in the process-wise. So I guess let's go to the more substantial things. Is that okay? Going to the 3 groups or 2 groups with this particular trafficking person. If we are not really confident to have one particular discussion on it, we can also involve this on the group second. So only 2 groups is also okay. 2 groups, yeah? Alright, so let's divide among of us who will be sitting and discuss about the political rights, including election, access to justice, freedom of assembly association, including law enforcement. That's the first, group, and it will be facilitated by Ibu Maulani. That's already mentioning it that way. Okay. Or others. Okay. Pak Lim, about the political rights, election, access to justice. Okay, Pak Lim will explore more the issues from the perspective of person with disability in ASEAN, trying to come up with the concrete recommendation on these issues, yeah, and then the root causes. And then go to the second group, which is dealing with the transnational crime, trafficking person, including refugees, and also disaster risk management, yeah. So we put it up, Goa. So all of the political and security has already been covered up by 2 groups, yeah. And the role in each group, again, I go back a bit. That's merging it on the 2 groups. Talk about 3 things, yeah. Substantial issues, the issues itself, the levels of participation, and what role we demand to be there in the ASEAN arrangement. All right. So let's maybe count by 1 and 2, or A or B, or do we want to voluntary? I want to be sitting on the group A or group B. Which one that is more workable for everyone here? Counting is okay? Counting is okay? I assume that you are expert in all those issues, I know. Okay, Lim, number 1, yeah? Pak Lim, number 1? 2?
I'm moderating.
Oh, okay, so 1, yeah? And then number 2? Pak Zazali, yeah? Okay. And then number 1 again. And then number 2 again. And number 1 again. Number 2 again. And then Indonesia, whoever sitting here will be number 2. And we can divide role. Is that okay? So please doing it, hopefully written in the computer, so later on easier to draft the proposed statement from our process. All right, group 1 with Pak Lim, and then group 2 will be with me. Will be Pak Zazali, Tom, Ibu Maulani can be also here. So let's have 2 places here, separated into 2 bit far spaces. Otherwise, group 2 is here. Group 1 go to Pak Lim chairs over there, and then let's go back to the question, Vika. Ah, the question. Ah, this one, yeah. Yeah. So mainly we will respond those issues with these three particular provoking or triggering questions. So that's becoming our point of discussion. Okay, so now is 2 exactly, 1 minute past 2, meaning that we have, let's say, 1 hour or 45 minutes, let's say, yeah, 45 minutes to discuss, and then we have 15-minute break, and then go back a bit, to present back maybe around 3:30, and then we will resume at 4. So hopefully we will have a concrete recommendation by all of us on at 4 p.m. later on. Okay, good luck in your group. Let's check up again on 45 past 2, yeah. Yes. Group 2, same question. Group A and Group 2 talk about the issue itself. Yeah, like for instance about the issue of climate change, the challenges. Yeah, recommendation for the solution. So how many issues we got? About disaster management. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Social services, social protection. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Bigger. I'll be around here. So you know that? So let's let's go to one by one, I guess. The issues that we already assigned to explore, mainly about disaster first, maybe. Disaster, how you see ASEAN deal with the disaster management and reduction of the risk, and how it impacted, or how it is in the EPO point of view. How you see that?
ASEAN. So you are moderating and
Can be specific. From the experience of Vietnam, and then Malaysia, and Indonesia maybe. Who wanna start first? Yeah, can be challenges, issues, yes, problem.
Okay, maybe I can just sum it up.
Yeah, good, Pak.
We should, when we talk about disaster and climate change, I think the critical one for the groups is the impact.
Yes.
Because we have to have a kind of picture of how the Asian countries facing the impact, and how the existing policy programs and challenge from the future from the Asian. For Indonesia, for example, and many other Asian countries, we have a global commitment on the same time frameworks on disaster reduction, then climate change, and national determined contribution. I think these two can be a trigger for Asian countries. How strong our commitment to that to global global issues and how to mainstream into our own country in terms of national development, inclusiveness of the part, how to
So that one, okay, but it's very symbolic.
you know how to make it a stronger. The question is
Election, everyone has the right.
master plan, enabling master plan. What's the policy to solve potential risk and
All the elections.
program, finance, and so on, and engagement of
Not
vulnerable groups into the organization of person.
So it's
I think that's the basic that you should have kind
by
of
all, they cut it.
I would say the context of this disaster.
This sorry, can I ask, is it for mainly physical?
No, everybody.
Everybody
In
in
response
election.
to-
Even those who are
Yeah.
blind, even those who are blind will have a special chip,
So no discrimination based on
Yeah.
No,
disability.
they can
You
vote
need to have
independently.
kind
You want to
of,
tell somebody, can you help me vote? But
commitment
it is
in
personal,
Asian
because
countries in terms
voting
of
is secret, actually.
these two issues,
People
disaster
with the intellectual
and
disability,
and how
because
to
when
transmit the
you're
commitment
eligible
in
to
action
vote, you need to
at
register.
the region as well as the local,
So we
national
have
and
a
local
school
level.
of thought. Some of them
There are
parents
gaps
wanted to
that we are
register
facing now in terms of engagement
Others,
of
maybe the
people
more
with
higher
disabilities,
yeah,
So it's
even though
so
there are
even if for
existing
instance,
institutions, so how to
to register the
it's really implemented on
like let's say the
in
intellectual
Vietnam,
council,
in Thailand, in Singapore, even in Indonesia.
they are not, the parents they register that, they're still allowed to vote.
yeah, yeah.
Best
But then
practices.
comes up
Very
with the
good
are
best
they
practices.
voting on their own, their parents
Or
voting?
which institute.
Consider
So we that's the other issue.
vulnerable groups in this process,
Maybe one need
in this policy formulations, recommendations,
Myanmar and Cambodia.
even budget allocation. Yeah. This law, Vietnam, Malaysia. Vietnam, we have also the same problem with floods.
No,
Vietnam, Laos, and Indonesia, they have the same problems
And
like
if are they but are the
extreme events.
allowed to
And
cut
maybe
in
some
parliament, or that's not even a policy?
Coastal issues celebrate because this week Vietnam and Laos
And then
facing its stress. Its stress. Beyond what we take as very good indicator for us to stress that we have to consider this one to be prioritized also in national and regional policy, and that's the idea.
Good start. Thank you, Pak. Yeah. Very good, very good, very good.
Neighborhood lane.
Yeah, right. That's why we are like over
Yes.
And the other thing, we don't have any assistive device, each if we say assistive device, it doesn't have that.
Blind cannot do it.
Yeah, right.
You have to tell somebody.
And for the just type the letters, somehow,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
although they say that they are, the police that's for blind people. But some say
Oh,
It's not, it's not everywhere.
so it's not everywhere. And also, after we might have
You can like slide also.
they cannot
So sometimes they reject it.
not the but someone support them to
That's challenging.
national
And not only the loss of the
No
language,
independence.
people with disability have to suffer,
and one
and
thing
they have to face,
but
but also the diseases. After the typhoon, they are the people who have to face
when they don't have
difficulties
that
on the
ID card, they cannot
when they lose
and the other one
yeah,
for the migration for disability.
house, and they have to expect the support,
So
financial
transportation as
support
well.
from
Yeah.
the
I think as
Portability,
and
portability,
human resources.
mobility, or the accessibility.
Yeah.
Something like that.
There's a lot of
I think what is also still challenging is that you have to
even in the
commitment
cities.
before doing it after election period. That's why for the blind and deaf, we ensure they are let out well known about that.
Even
Before they
sometimes the funds
public
come to their
announcement from the
houses
authorities,
in the
they
street.
say we are now something
And
announced on the
without
paper or letting out the
independent review service, without independent review assistance, they cannot, without
That's why we have some
Ah.
some areas where they are on this.
Election and expression.
difficulty.
Wow, Cambodia has a lot.
People,
No, because
the
yeah, the big country is rural areas. Because also the African topic is not just about election, it's also about just
it is serious and a lot of
But
diseases.
yeah, this is the thing,
Myanmar
right?
are doing it.
No, but same with us.
But the
I
disease,
mean, they're under siege right now, so they don't have to do it. I mean, previously they did it, but
Even you can vote and you get voted.
going to
The survey is
Role of the issues cara dia muncul yang level of participation and output. So we can play but we want to be that but part of learning competition or
early warning system. Maybe the early warning system.
and the local government and local government team do not know how to give information to visual impairment. So the speakers do not work at the time. It's challenges. And after the disasters,
After
rebuild the house and to
they were still having you had accessibility issues.
we still have some diseases.
but there are more for
And sometimes even
people
they lose a
with
job.
Yeah.
What about
what
In the intellectual.
you talking about the difficulty of people who are
short-term and long-term impact.
Yeah.
Multiple impact. If I may add that because RR is more on prevention, so we should also to strengthen the prevention instreaming into the development. Prevention, like
so do you say
we discuss the issues, how to prevent that disaster.
Birthday presents.
Engagement, what is actually our needs sometimes.
In wheelchair.
They don't know maybe, because I contact with disabilities person, actually. They don't know what our needs.
Only people with disability
What
know
infrastructure,
that.
so prevention also, because we are more on prevention. Yes, we need for during disaster and after, yes, they have
No, I
prevention.
can't really contribute much more.
Potential, sorry,
do like
There's no shit. We have a choice.
For example, the young
Who is I'm a monarchy.
from
different
mother.
political system.
It's a very different political system. I mean,
But in terms of the disaster,
we
So
just
how
say,
do you advocate better?
yeah,
So the
I mean, in terms of
climate change,
you have
it's
one
serious.
the legislative council, and that is appointed
including
monarchy and
after disaster,
they appoint to take care of not
family members.
but in
economic, social, values. Maybe in some area, local wisdom and heritage, probably culture.
So they were
I've been working with
now
they're
they're returned and it's like
in the Middle East.
so the next one came in
Mm.
and again nobody had to submit. So we don't know how to push or advocate for them to come in.
And the question
But
is,
also
the government
even if you
help
don't get what you get,
everybody,
everything that they mentioned
Yes.
everyone needs to have ministers and
Absolutely.
the family.
but people with disability with more of
Not everything they need is
Yes, see,
yes. As long as it goes into the paper and Hansard, they'll be like, oh, okay, you mentioned it. That no more. It's not official.
the form to respect the
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how to mention.
Especially everywhere like that.
So that I think some extent is by the bureaucracy
have a lot of power there.
so that marginalized people are not that marginalized. Like for example, a bit of wire,
Correct.
One night, like
give
from
some sample
and then the problem is when we try to help, and then the government they don't
So,
have
I think
Mm.
the person with disability, where are they?
Sure thing, sure thing, sure thing.
so access to justice
difficult,
is
so they have
one. So
check with
Okay, for
our
access for
I mean, it's really
people
difficult to find out where is the people that they really need.
I mean, commit crime and
Like when they do the emergency camp, they also
So no discrimination.
no discrimination. And then the only thing they need to do when you bring the crime to the prison is not certificate. So what they do is they go to I know this because one of my good friends. What he taught
Information related to organization and disaster event.
prison hospital.
Not in the curriculum.
So no discrimination in terms of the
Treatment.
Information related to where
process
actually
of
the
Alright.
distribution was
Okay, but I think the problem that I get
to provide sufficient
people
facilities, infrastructure
One
to
able to
evacuate, for example.
That's right, that's
so what we
Where to
what
go,
we
where
have
to, where is the food,
whereby
where is the, where is
what we
happening.
have whereby
to ask them for some information of disabilities and limitations. He asked them for home.
you go and organize but when they are caught they don't know how to defend right they don't so that means that some NGO that established to believe that if a person with that kind of mental capacity they have to call a certain number
The right
somebody
information system
give them
related to disabilities.
Okay.
Yeah, data information. Not data
Under fear of
information. Data is there. Because sometimes data is just data.
you touch it
We need to assess
Yeah.
but
where the located near the river, near the mountain.
And also
if
you
someone
can,
can advocate for that
If it happens,
So I think providing legal assistance for you that is also
what kind
having
of
a
information
we
should provide?
So it's very important. And then also the treatment by the state, well, they have to be
Let's say,
the president, the
to this
prison itself
distribute, there
also
will be
accessible.
but then you can't do that so what
let's
do
say.
you do
So what should we do? What should we do?
Why one
And where to go?
so you need them in the prison hospital so a person on wheelchair is able to so I mean it looks like a less stricter
I know,
regime,
yeah.
but then it's still incarcerated. I think that's fair.
Especially I think put the stress on the mental
develop
Alright.
no, I mean, that's the
engagement
same
with
with a lot of countries.
OPD.
Right, it's the
But
same.
they have to
So
talk with them.
if it's physical, yeah, I'm going to speak for
To
themselves.
provide the right
It's
information,
Of course.
right
Yes,
data,
of course,
You know,
very interesting.
what you have to do is, if you are able to defend yourself, they usually will allow you to
how many
defend
Alright.
yourself. But you also provide that witness
much money
as
they lost
a
and
to know how just to be there in case
also potential.
To assess the mental capacity, intellectual capacity.
And of course, we will have the social workers in there when it comes to
Okay,
justice.
with regards to the
when it
issue
comes
of
to intellectual disabilities, the number one thing they do
climate
is
change
contact
and also
the
disaster, yeah.
NGOs. Is this your
What
member?
happening is like
Is this
in
somebody you
our
know?
country,
Is
yeah,
this
we do experience this.
If, for example,
we do experience
if
this,
you
yeah.
represent has contributed maybe my student is one of my largest members, I'll say I know of him. He belongs to
And
one of
on
the
the
police station.
East Coast
Give
part
a
of it,
brief background of his
states which are
what is
nearby
his
the
own life
sea,
like,
that one is like,
so they'll do an assessment.
they would actually have more issues than
Giving it to somebody else on file. So very similar to Singapore. Just that
So I think that first and foremost, what government should actually focus on
no accommodations in this life. So you might first child.
Accommodation means
what is
physical accommodation or
DRR
reasonable accommodation.
they should actually
So they just have to sit down and
from everyone to know.
and then you
And,
observe him while waiting for
secondly,
the parents to
it's
come over.
like
So it becomes
they
a
also should have
mental challenge. Yeah. So we're not in terms of that we do have.
I mean, like, they should have database and they should have agency which should be responsible
how to bring in
for this kind of situation. So like in our country, there is one where they call it landmark.
in terms of
So
the process
every
being quick
disaster
and
happening
swift.
or anything, it will go via a particular
Your
agency.
Brunei very fast.
So if you need anything, assistance, you need information and everything,
The
you will go
initiative
through an agency because they work closely
send
with
the
the
accused or some kind
Met
of
Malaysia, yeah,
or intellectual functioning.
meteorology.
So you have a psychiatrist.
Meteorological agency.
Sorry, yeah. Okay.
Recognize
Yeah.
Meteorological
Yeah.
government.
So they work together, so they kind of like
You can say,
be
okay, this
updated
person
with the current
has low
weather
mental
and
health.
situation in the country.
You cannot be guilty.
The only
cannot
thing
be
is
found
like, you know,
guilty
the
of
lack
crime.
of information
Or
where
yes,
the people
capable of.
disabilities are is also an issue. But I was thinking if they could actually have a pool of social workers who could actually, I mean, mobilize all around,
that
they
he
could
has to
actually
assess
assist,
themselves if they
I mean,
possibly
assist the
So
victim
at least a
part.
system there.
Because
That's why
once
more.
it happened, like, you know,
Whoever
flood,
does it.
during that time, water increases
you have
without,
that
you know, you can't wait for it. It's
But
like,
Singapore,
it happened rapidly and you have to like, you know, do things fast and you have to assist and help the people with
So
disability.
you have so the question now is intermediary. In the meantime, what will happen?
Yeah.
And at the same time, also, if you have proper data, they could actually provide assistance, meals,
Abusing somebody.
food for the people during the disaster.
They usually will not release to the public, right?
And as I mentioned, like social workers,
So where do they keep
psychologists,
it?
they need people like that or
And
counselors to be around during that time.
so I don't
Because you
know
have to kind of stabilize the emotions of people who are affected. So this kind of thing is like they need
Even
to
if
have
they're
like
intellectually
specialized
disabled,
in the area of expertise.
Because some hospitals, some public hospitals
And
have the capability
in order to
of
assist,
accommodate
also,
create special
like,
cells so they can run.
they should actually
Or even
have
standard cells where you
pre-disaster, post-disaster
cannot
thing.
exercise.
They know what to do,
You need some kind of
actually
special
be prepared well.
so the only way
If anything happen, because usually after what I mean, like flood or anything
More?
happen, is what share.
of course hearing
The
because
house
it's
is
part
going
of
to
the
be like in a very
economic
chaotic
development.
situation. You need to
And,
get help.
not by law.
You need
I mean
to-
certain
some of it is like, you know,
rank in
it's badly damaged. You need the system for that.
power.
So you need help
So
from the
station
government, you need help
station
from the
inspectors can only detain a person under our criminal
So
justice.
based on my experience,
Only detain them for up to
once
like
we actually assist
for
them,
48 hours and then they must be produced before
Yes,
magistrate.
good.
So it's all prescribed by
in
the
the
law.
country, and we,
Then
since we find that maybe we, I mean, like the best thing is that we raise fund and send whatever is actually needed.
Depends on the
It's like during
Call
that time, you know, they
and
need
the power of that.
new clothes,
So
they
it
need
goes from
mattress, they
investigation,
need
inspector
blankets,
to
they need things like that. Because government on their part, they have a responsibility of preparing food and everything. There are times I felt that it's a waste of time too much. Everybody's giving the same thing. There's overpriced, there's a lot of, you know, canned food and everything. But the
easily influenced by people. So you say he's up for stealing, but actually somebody else is going to do it.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Manipulated.
manipulated. So when you don't have complete evidence yet, and this person should be, if not released, to back to the family,
Because,
but at least be put on some form
it's
of.
like, yep, they
Oh,
always
and
do
he's not
nice
out of
cooking.
his house completely.
They
Because
always
everybody's
give,
giving him
but
when
someone
he
has got
comes.
like, you give
There
them
is
rices,
also
they don't have a stove anymore. They don't have, how do they cook? So they gotta be realistic in this kind of situation. Yeah, they have to like balance it and look at it, more rationally, so that, or perhaps in the day and sessions have like, they're not going to waste resources, they're going to waste funding and
Immediately.
then you of course some, you know, the government small, very lenient people.
Good.
But because of the
So number one is literacy.
Yeah.
so what
Literacy.
happens
What is is it meter or something different different
Yeah,
way
yeah.
how
but then
to
the- some you
inform, but actually already know
if not the
basically
message is set
disaster
up or the
Everybody
prevention.
is-
So what happens is
Disaster
that what we
prevention, disaster risk reduction. Sometimes yung scientists coming with new terms, sometimes cognitive adaptation, mitigation, resiliency. There's sometimes
you know, and they have to
because of the terminology that they
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
And DRR is another thing. So we kind of like, we've been thrown and they, because they have terminology,
overnight get locked up.
you have to educate people.
Maybe Thailand, what's the experience in Thailand while dealing with illegal enforcers or law enforcers?
Okay, does Thailand have any
Because,
traditions? That's the first question.
Maybe let's
that
go to
terms
this
coming
first and
from
then
the
No,
from the
actually
global commitment from
Okay,
government. Because UNDRR and
Yeah,
UNFCCC,
on the
United Nations Disaster Reduction, dealing with
Yeah.
It's just that throw it, you understand.
yeah, that's much the way how to inform the right way, like with illustration or just picture, video, or we have to see the, it depends on the who we would like to talk with. So the right way to inform the right way to inform the right person.
Exactly.
That's to the right person, yeah. Because again, access.
Yeah, the thing is like, when flood and disaster happen, obviously there will be electrical equipment and everything, plus the supply. So,
What do you mean by not?
yeah, it's going to be quite I mean, children with disabilities, family
So the
with
courts, even the police
elderly and all
stations,
that. So they have to look
police
at other
stations,
options.
Similar.
courts,
Electrical power.
prison,
Like standby or something.
all
Which could
not
assist.
accessible,
And immediately like maybe the generator.
accessible from
Yeah.
from infrastructure to devices, right?
So what happens is
Both hardware and software.
able person
They always just throw to us everything,
but
right?
yeah,
But
it's
sometimes we
a-
don't need
I
it.
think they have a generator, but
you don't have to
which people, which location, which house should be, going to where, and then nobody know. So then we need volunteers. You mentioned about organizations, delegations, any kind of information that we yes, yes. I mean, some volunteers there, but they need educated.
When they
So the person who trained the volunteer doesn't understand the process and
Yeah.
mechanism.
Yeah.
Basically, it's
something that the personally like income
rather than you
because
set a camera, you know.
For
So
general,
only-
yeah.
Generally, and people cannot have that privacy. isn't
And
it?
they have to
Absolutely.
fight.
Privacy and independence.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, right. For the link, we have concern regarding to we have a
The
visit.
same with Myanmar. Exactly.
We have visit some places, but it's not allowed for open it for the public. But we have visit there, we can
Yes.
find out in the jail, in the prison,
Right.
we don't have the accessible.
Yeah.
Because in the prison, if the wheelchair user, if the service people, they cannot, access anything inside. What I say inside the jail.
So where did they go? It's not accessible.
Something we can ask, but sometimes they cannot reply to us.
They don't tell
They
you
don't,
it's a
they don't
secret.
have anything. Just go and keep silent by the
Yeah.
You don't know where they
I don't because like the previous I said all the officer over there they lack of understanding regarding disability inclusion. Either they don't know about the need of people with diversity of disability.
So also for intellectual achievement or universal. So officers in the justice system from all round, from small to district, all have lacking of understanding and learning.
So for after I can say after when for when we come back for the complaintism and also back for the chair, it means we are less of aware to become aware.
They have the volunteer, but
To make sure they have the right.
Certified certification. Yeah. Certification.
And
That's great.
especially I refer to women and children with disability when they are back
Okay.
from the chair.
Yeah, so they don't have a life.
Yeah.
how
That's good.
Normally it has by head depend on what it can do.
Recommendation.
If the
How
text
to
just something that hit or anything that just
have, yeah, to support
how can say discrimination by word or by reading.
train
So
train
if
train
the text
person
is not yet
with the issues, facilities, the
we
right
can make first we have
accessibility
compare
also.
mechanism to the village chief. So the village is here for appointment to the other who are really
One
well
time.
on that. Especially
Yeah,
what
yeah,
has
refresh, yeah, refresh.
like a woman defined with disability. So, and
Is there examples? Are there examples the training system
so
related to
sometimes
that
it's
one
really
in
hard when really the
Asian?
something
Maybe I don't know in Indonesia.
around
But
and speak
because
over
we need
the
to have
language.
real
Yes, right. That's
real
why we have find out on
guidelines,
that.
yeah,
We
standards,
try
guidelines,
to
and how
let
to
them
make it
know
happen,
it's not
and then
normal
become a tool
reasons.
for
It is something that
government
service
policy.
system
We
based
have to
on
do that.
human rights.
Strong commitment.
So they, they just say, oh,
Freedom
if you take your mom
Maybe
or
Japan,
father,
you said about
take care
Japan, yeah.
of your family, something like that. Who take care of your
Good.
mom, who take care of you, who take care of your
Faster, we can
So
start
something
here,
is
modify
around
what happened in
regarding
Japan, we
to
can
the
modify
It's really hard to
Yeah.
to our local situation. But
Myanmar?
basically, Japan, everyone
More
has
business.
experience.
My suggestion is the training for the professional services people
Yeah.
or volunteer. We should be trained not only by the professional people but also by people with disabilities. So people with disabilities can show them how to carry.
What about the role of school with disability? We have SLB, yeah. We have SLB, I don't know.
Special school.
Yeah, we have SLB A, B, C, D, E. Because my father was a teacher of
Participation
SLB.
with disabilities.
Is it enough?
C. Tuna, misalnya tuna saksa ya.
cases, yeah.
So basically, if state can accuse anyone, this is there, even if it anyway, state can use it. So if for example, I give them money, they will let me go, even though I mentioned so because they said so then I'm left helpless. If I don't have money, I go straight to jail.
So what's the reality of the yes, this one happened. How the girls when they started, sure, some people cannot pay right. So they have seen going to jail. What are there any special provisions
Promoting
that been made to
the right policy makers in general, let's say.
put them up for jail or put them in a hospital?
It is critical.
No, it's just
That's how
not
that's
for
how
the
CF can do.
special. Even before this, there was no special jails or anything. So very simple. You also don't know where they go.
If I may just divert
Once you get into
into
that kind of
elections,
done for, you go in but
I
don't
think
when
we do have like
at least when you go to prison, you know that
because all of our countries have a election
with the
for
wanted.
I think what we can do is like we can train the officer. It's the same training for for disaster, but this time we train them about accessibility for people with disabilities, assessing
So
the
there's actually in Singapore we have a date,
election
what the earliest date
venues,
so really you have a 3 years
electoral
term.
postage
Then
and all that,
under
and
our
also
British law, you
the
have
top,
one
neither the political
So
top,
1/3
we should have access of
up
it.
to so you only serve 2 years, right? So you go in on 31st of January, then you come out, like 30th of January. So you have what we call EDS, earliest date. But that earliest date will be based on good behavior. So if you
Setting something
out of
position, we need training
the word is
to many people.
so what happens is if you have bad behavior, you commit crimes or offenses, then you get honest. That there will be a judiciary and if you make a mistake or your offense is an additional 7 days. So your date get back in the system. So that kind of even within that kind of because we all are the same. We have a British background. So we have that kind of system even in place within the country. So you have a earlier date of release, then you have a system whereby if you do wrong, your days get added on. But they give you upfront notice, and after that, you back or whatever offense you made. Yeah.
How to be a candidate first. Yeah. Then what the criteria for candidate, how to work as a representative.
No report. Do you want to share? It's okay, later on you can. Wait the report.
Taking place.
We have another question about the participation question maybe. When it comes to the political rights, already right? Participation. Break. Already coffee. You want coffee? From them?
Good.
Yeah. Thai,
New things we have.
Hi, Suana.
Oh, sorry.
Continuous.
Welcome to
I'm so sorry, I'm having such a bad start. Okay. Thailand.
Okay.
We're only doing, right now we're doing election for AWPs. want to know about, for example, what are the issues that has, so like Korea is the voting areas for the people with
learning how to work
not accessible in all forms.
with the ASEAN body and how to working with people.
Thailand has elections, right?
That's the key. In any aspects.
Yeah.
What is inclusive?
What's it? What's it? Yeah.
Like in Vietnam,
Yeah.
things that someone has mentioned, separate with people is
I like her policy of
Is it in all levels?
ministry level.
Which is even in the rural to the
Education, university, everything until the community,
At all
NGO, fairs, the voice, that's special. Even voice of disabilities, really special program. Maybe dia can talk with RRI in Indonesia, ya. Radio Republik Indonesia, we can spread to the whole country, you know. To have a kind of shop, maybe regular talking, sharing the ideas and the issues, to voice our message.
so basically they say it's how to say sharing
Sharing, yeah,
to
yeah.
the reporters how to work with the people with disabilities and what concept is that and what the effect of disabilities on their life and how to build an image of person with disability in that information. And they admitted for the first time that people with disabilities
does not include
And remember that we have experts on their issues. They don't know. We don't know what our needs. They don't know. That's the problem.
even not a colleague,
Yeah.
something
How to change their mindset. I think that's good. To have more what's that? More voice, yeah. Spread our capacity.
Technology.
Yes, subject, not object.
about 15 years
They
ago,
have
when I
that
was
in Thailand.
but in Thailand also have because
Remove that.
you don't have complete objectivity.
More question?
All of a sudden, you know, you
What any more question?
this one, we are trying human rights, on the long term, context, not only acceptance, have become aware or becoming normally not as yeah, for also for access to education, access to health, we want to emphasize the participation of citizen organization for different or something like public perspective in certain laws. They try to work with
So there's nobody in parliament currently that is still a division by issue. Yeah. One.
Mostly
Not elected, yeah.
Are selected, not elected.
So my
It's selected, not elected.
my involvement with ADF is like, you know, a way back, and it's like always like, you know, always wanted it to be like anything, you know, and ASEAN level.
There is no legal.
I mean, to mention about ADF itself, you know, so there, and also that, you know, there's a lot of things that we learn at ADF, like to bring into higher level, the opportunities we have, for example, like AICHA meeting, and then I think I've been to AICHA meeting and the national government invitation,
Yeah.
and then a couple of the UNSCR involved. So we just also learn from them, we could actually learn and get as much information about the activities and also the area of leadership that we are been involved in area itself. So to me it's like whatever it is, like EDF is very much relevant for us.
They ratified it,
Bring out
right?
the leader.
In the
And I'm kind of like hoping that, you know, we do have rooms to actually improve and also develop, you know, a proper mechanism. Because now in the digital decade, yeah, so really kind of like, it's like we have to move forward, and do things as fast as we could and get involved to
The whole system is not
many
accessible.
international
Yeah, it's
organizations
not
or
no accessible
human rights
legal
law.
system, justice
We should
system.
actually be with
Lack.
the representative for
So lacking.
Lacking access.
because I think it's like not everywhere to wait. It's like
Training of the criminal justice
Law
system.
enforcer. Law enforcer.
so we can to promote the
Law enforcer. Law enforcer.
media, something like that.
Yeah.
We can even
Decriminalize.
with the social media and so on, to explain things about ADF, to talk about empowerment for people with disabilities, how to we strengthen empowerment in Thailand to achieve very high, because we have a lot of
LGBTQ.
that is not people with disabilities. Because I mean, like usually, like, you know, in health issues pertaining to people with disabilities, there are something that, you know, accessibility itself, it's like, you know,
Yeah.
they make it like really, you know, viral across the social media, and it can benefit a lot because changes has to be done.
So corruption is
So
very
we
high.
could take that kind of advantage to see how we could have access to all this, and at the same time also to create
It's different.
I think time is up. Is that okay, or do we need to extend a bit more? Let's say another 10 more minutes. Is that right? 10 more minutes, yeah. Let's extend a bit, 10 more minutes.
and also talking about the environment and all they don't interact enough with sufficient enough with people with disabilities, we get the anxiety intervention. And then that's for me. At the same time, also, as Hong Kong mentioned, people with disabilities have to be given a chance to become the trainer, to share with them, to teach them and lead them, on how to handle and how to reach the essence of
Expertise. They don't consider we are experts.
yeah.
That's the point.
Even not as knowledge.
And this expert, we need what we need. The government obligation to protect the people. Provide. That's scary. They think they know that.
With some accessibility, accessibility, I think that ask people with disability, how they should be, and the idea of disability is up here. And then very surprised. That's what we're doing here right now is identifying issues and then recommendations, right? For the
So maybe
since I became a member
after knowing all the time in the political aspect, what are we doing as a
since I shared information about
Well,
the
we haven't touched on freedom of expression and freedom to assembly, right? Which is similar, because it also follows the government. Like Singapore,
officials,
they're not allowed to
form
assemble.
assembly?
So that's why even for
reconsider IDF as a kind of
Yeah.
but IDF is okay, but if because IDF is a regional,
So how
that's
are
why
we
whenever I want to
reservation
work
of
with the government, I have to ask for the introduction from IDF and reference from IDF.
No, we actually have the
Yeah.
freedom of expression.
And then now, since
So we actually have a
master
reservation
plan
on that one. We
was
applied
cleared,
the
yes, and
So they gave us
I
what do you call
work
it?
reservation?
Yeah, the reservation
But
one.
not notification,
Yeah,
right?
the other
So on CRPD, yes.
disseminate
Yes.
master plan and to do the advocacy for the implementation.
To respect, yeah.
And,
So for freedom of
I work
expression,
I am a member of IDF, but I work with my organization is an independent center. And other bodies, yes, like and I trained the other ones in Vietnam about
last time we did one for the Palestine one,
I
right?
get the people
That one
to
we have to
do
put
our
in the
work.
mall, in
So
like
the government and the Ministry of
friends,
Foreign Affairs,
assemble largely to show solidarity laws. We do it in Malaysia.
international relation,
Even if we have
international cooperation of
the
the
government does
Malaysia is kind of one firm of the ministry.
access to
They
justice.
consider us as a partner.
Because the not having a
Yeah, and trust us as a partner. And sometimes ask us to consult. Yeah. With policies. And I think it's a skill that you can imagine. I think it depends on the official
Under killing,
at the time. Yeah. If the official is open-minded, yeah, things will unfortunately, sometimes in check that open-minded. Let's see the capacity of disabilities. So the machine as
You know the law, yeah?
No, I think the reason why we were advocating well is freedom of expression and expression of wishes. We only had the reservation on freedom of expression only. So
That's
the,
okay.
no, but the expression package in what's Brunei specified was what type of expression. So in Brunei we have a law that you cannot express your dissatisfaction for the government because you can order a marriage, because you cannot be held without talking. That's
Sesi.
what we, yeah. I mean, we can still do everything else except for that part of the road how we
I
can
guess that's using it as
Some Vietnam, as I
a
said,
space for
what I have
cleaning
said is some
say people.
Vietnam, but
And
I Vietnam, I
we
met
calling
in
to
the
have a
last
thing that
meeting
is
of
also part of our right. We
Because
have.
then we follow the benefit of the country.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So putting it like
Yeah,
that,
because
yes.
regulations of benefit.
I think it's
Yeah.
only one.
There's no feedback, right?
Yeah, but she is a very new organization.
I think the thing is we updated this year.
Yeah.
It's right now
I
they
think
don't see it as an
she
obligation.
is going
It's
to
to make
use
this
this like
common thing we're hearing
now.
about every country. It's very targeted, but nobody is implementing
Some
it.
Implementing.
And they're not giving training, is what I said. Like,
Yeah.
guys,
It's
I'm
only
very,
in this
I'm
region
one of
we
the
have
only
already
guys who actually
modalities.
train with them.
Yeah.
And the government actually have to bring me in
Policy,
as from
data,
the NGO.
issues,
No, I'm not
human
going
rights
to
increasing,
train the government.
and
Since
there
you have the money to go out and get training.
potential.
So why did I have to argue when I paid my own money to go to Geneva to get training?
Not just
Inclusiveness and no one left behind will remember that.
So why
No
are we
one
not
left behind and they can
actually
have them.
seeking it instead of asking
That's political words in it. No one
So I
left
think that's one of the
behind.
recommendations I consider. One big point is that actually because you are taking a policy.
What I have done in my country, I have the challenges on
Small.
sexual violence and abuse, and then present the report.
Yeah, ASEAN political security, so articles 13, 21, 29.
What about budget allocation? Concrete budget allocation.
Wow. Because I'm on the steering
Government
committee.
Not
This is
just
actually
social
what I'm doing.
especially for the
I'm just,
and
they asked me to do the
any
report, so I actually have my country's report.
special budget dedicated for that.
I actually have all the report right here, so I know what exactly what they want, what they don't want, what they have actually said.
Okay, good. What else that we haven't yet touched on?
I think that's just a form, just talking about, because last time was used about accommodation, but every single issues that was mentioned, mentioned the recommendation was used for accommodation.
that's why they have also locate the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to. So we cannot just say general, we have to
General.
specify.
So in Indonesia we have budget techniques.
Even ethnicity,
So the government
indigenous,
Right.
yeah.
Maybe we have to
Okay, I think it's done, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for group A or group 1. What about group 2 or group B? One more question again, okay.
3B.
3B.
Last question.
Or do you know about the mechanism, the participation for
I mean, one of the evidence that we should have, I think, if we find
as a priority, but also have to go conducted regularly. Like,
Yeah, you can explain what priority.
priority, yes, I know, I agree. Because otherwise, like, of course, urgent, you know,
Priority is a must.
must.
Must to have.
Process.
We have been involved as a passive recipient. We don't want to be active.
Exactly, that's the
We
You
really
know,
sort of
we
track.
don't want to be involved
You
as
see
an
most of
passive
the agencies,
recipient.
even under ASEAN,
That's why
even
priority.
UN and stuff,
You
there are
don't
things
need to
that
put
they
the
drafted but they don't fully understand or they don't even bother. So they kind of like feed us with the declaration, but sometimes they themselves don't understand the
Active.
declaration.
Active and proactive.
So that is also another
Let's
thing.
make
But as ADF, as we say, that ADF should have accountability level or responsibility. So we should be actually advising and also work with them.
To always be
all people first. Only is us. CSO is not only us.
Yeah. When you expect on this
is a must, but
so
CSO
should be
can be choice.
the part of that highlight
We have to,
policy process.
listen.
Yeah, because for example, under the United Nations structure, I mean, like, if I take, for example, for World Federation of India, they have consulted the task or responsibility at United Nations. So we could kind of like submit or suggest to ASEAN, they should actually have consultant or advisor on multiple disability or ADF itself to be an ASEAN body. Yeah, so at least like all the ASEAN body that they have, they should have a consultant or advisor among people with disability from India. Okay, yeah. Oh.
Just thinking. Iya. Iya.
Action.
Yeah, we will be shared over here. Yes. And then after that, some photo will be put together.
Ayo. Group to.
Cooperating.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
ini.
let's have one more time, so let's email. Dan tomorrow sudah dibikin.
Iya, foto Bu. Habis mikir dulu pusing.
Yes.
Smile.
Great. Yes. Okay, online. Group two.
Ayo.
I don't get info, no, I don't feeling okay lah. I'm a part of that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, let's meet again here. Let's say on 15 minutes past 3, meaning we have another 8 more minutes, yeah, to have a break, enjoy coffee, and then after that, I suggest the process will be a sharing from each group. and then have a Q&A. Then we assign our rapporteur to come up with the warnings. Yeah, that's right.
You have a WhatsApp group? Is it WhatsApp? Yes, good. Yeah. It's really I support.
From tiring days. It's already 2 days at least. We have this exercise, a lot of things in our soldiers together, and tomorrow we need to always well perform, yeah, and so confident to address in a government interface meeting tomorrow. So by that, I think I'd like to invite the first group and later on the second group to share the discussion result from two clusters issues, yeah, ranging from the political rights, voting, election, until disaster management, trafficking issues, employment, and so on and so forth. So by that, let's have the representation for the first group to share the findings and the result of the discussion. And then later on, we are gonna always have a room for discussion, improvement, while later on it will be the source of developing the statement for tomorrow. By that, I'd like, who will be the representation from the group one? Brunei? As always. Okay. Let's have applause to group one, yeah? Hopefully you have time to have a coffee or tea a bit. Okay. Okay, the mic is and floor is yours. Arifah? Go ahead.
Hello. So in group one, our mention was mostly on. We had five countries representing for group one. We had Brunei, Cambodia, Myanmar, Singapore, and Thailand to speak on the issues for elections, access to justice, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, and reasonable accommodations. So we first started off with Singapore, and when we're talking about elections, we decided to divide it into two. So the ability for PWDs to vote and be part of the voting system, as well as being voted into as a member of parliament for the justice system. So in Singapore, they have a nominated member of parliament, and so far they're not two. Mr. Lim's knowledge, there's only two, and they can be nominated from how they are nominated is from various agencies, either in sports, welfare, law, education, etc., etc. Their term is 2 years and can only be reappointed after the next 2 years. And that is, it's more of tokenism, as what PT, Mr. Lim had explained to us, is that it's not, they will say things in the parliament and everything like that, but whether or not it's been taken, valued and taken seriously or respected in the way that it's supposed to is another thing. And then for election, everyone can vote. It's community-based. They also have priority lanes. There's no discrimination based on disability to join in voting. However, for psychosocial or intellectual disability, there's two kinds of paths here. So if they're on the higher level or higher skilled set of on the intellectual psychosocial side, they are registered using their disability card. They can vote and are allowed to vote like everybody else. However, if, for example, they are not, they're still depending on their family members or caregivers or parents. Some of them cannot be bothered to register, so the parents are the ones who don't allow them to vote. So It's about this is something that Swalak mentioned, which is legal capacity and mental capacity. So some parents are just not bothered. So access to justice for Singapore, in terms of non-discrimination, in terms of process for the justice. So if you're physically disabled or you have a disability based on physical abilities, you're not discriminated in the justice system of from being persecuted to going to the court and everything like that. However, once you are persecuted, so say you've been convicted guilty for a crime, for example, the prison itself is not accessible. So one of the examples was given was that somebody was sentenced to 2 years in jail, and instead of being put with everyone else in the prison blocks and the prison cells, he was held for 2 years in the hospital prison, because the hospital prison is the most accessible in the system. But they also have a 3-strike law in Singapore. So the first strike is, and it's mainly for elderly who are going through dementia, where they get a warning, first warning, second warning, then the third one they have to prosecute, kind of thing. For those who are psychosocial and intellectual disabilities, they'll have a slightly different route for their access to justice that ensures equality and ensures equal access to justice. So Singapore has collaborated with several collaborative relevant agencies such as NGOs and OPDs, which have created a, well, not really a policy, but a guideline book, a process, a system, where they work with the police to ensure there's someone to assist the PWD who cannot defend themselves or who need assistive care or need someone there to ensure they are supported and are able to defend themselves correctly. So it could be from a medical social worker, a psychologist, psychiatrist, somebody from the certain NGO they're from or organization they're from. The one thing about the access to justice part is that it's not very timely. So holding cells for even psychosocial, or it doesn't matter what disability you have, the holding cells could be in the prison hospital, which could be padded cells and etc. And this can take up to months before you can actually go to the conviction court and see the judge and everything like that. In Cambodia, they currently have no PWDs as member of parliament. There is also no policies for persons with disabilities being in parliament. It's not a must, it's not anywhere mentioned. There's lack of accessibility for the elections when they want to go voting for PWDs. And when we say accessibility, it's down to assistive devices, infrastructure, access to information. Even if they see a PWD voting, sometimes they cannot vote by themselves, so there's no empowerment or independence in this place. Lack of involvement of PWDs during voting season, because they may not have, they have mobility issues. So if they're in the rural area or they're far away from the voting area, which is like the public halls or the voting areas, they may not be, legislation courts and everything, halls, everything like that. They don't have the accessibility to go there due to their disability. And in terms of access to justice, they have before, during, and after. So service providers and the justice system have a lack of understanding of PWDs. No lawyers understand PWDs in the rural area, and also don't know how to communicate with PWDs. And when they're charging PWDs, these lawyers, they're not giving reasonable accommodations. So it's the same police station to courts to prison. The whole justice system is not accessible via infrastructure. Assistive devices are also not available, as well as access to information is very lacking. They're not aware, and also PWDs are not aware of the mechanisms of how the system works, the justice system works in their countries. There's no focal point in the justice system for PWDs as well. There's a lack of privacy and lack of independence. And it's similar to what Singapore has, is that their prisons are not accessible. Monica actually mentioned that they don't actually know where PWDs are put because when they ask, they don't reply back or respond, so they don't actually know what happens to PWDs if they're convicted of a crime. Officers in the justice system lack severe understanding and awareness of PWDs, and there's no care or after support for especially women and children with disabilities in the after prison time. And this is not just for the persons who gets incarcerated, but the family. There's no support system for the family who's so if the sole breadwinner is in prison, who helps the family, the women and children, and so there's no support at all levels in terms of access to justice. In the rural area for Cambodia, they will go through a slightly different route, but it's harder in the rural area because they make a complaint to the village chief, but certain cases, especially if it's within family members, are not taken seriously. So let's say a woman who is a PWD is complaining about maybe the father abusing her or the cousin is sexually abusing her or whatever. They complain to the village chief. This is not taken seriously, and then they'll just say it's a family matter or whatever, so it never gets brought up to the justice system. So it just stays with the village head. So this is one of the issues. Myanmar had shared that it's all very similar in terms of what Cambodia is going through, in terms of elections, in terms of in terms of accessibility for elections and everything like that, all very similar. Especially now, they cannot do any elections due to the crisis that's going on in Myanmar. Access to justice is very same with Cambodia, and in Myanmar there is many unsecured areas and lots of corruptions currently going on. So if you can bribe an officer, that's the current justice system right now. You bribe them, you can get away. You don't, fortunately, no accommodations are given. In terms of Brunei, so we do not have elections in Brunei at all. We're a monarchy. But we have the chance, I'm not saying ability, I'm saying chance, because we also don't know how they are elected. We can have selected members of parliament join our legislative council, but we don't know on what basis are they elected, on what criteria, nothing. It's not mentioned at all.
It was not informed.
It's not even
Not
not openly informed, because even when my friend got elected as a member of parliament 6 years ago, she only knew the day it was announced. And she was in the UK doing her master's degree, so she had to come back to Brunei because she got elected. So she said, I don't know what I did, but I got elected. So it's to that level. And so to this day, we do not have a person with PWD who is a member of Legislative Council. And also, it's very similar to Singapore as well, in the sense of whatever is mentioned in the Legislative Council meetings, we're not sure how seriously taken these recommendations or these anything mentioned will be in a policy, no matter how many times we bring it up. Because for many years now in the Legislative Council meetings, a lot of mentions for PWD rights have been mentioned, but nothing has actually been taken seriously, valued, or respected in that way. In terms of access to justice, we are very similar to Singapore. However, it is also not very transparent on the process. Unless you are, like myself, working with the government or working in the government, you'll know the process. But other than that, they do not mention. So a lot of people with PWDs in Brunei, or families with PWDs in Brunei, do not know the process. So they just go to the police station, then they get held for long periods of time, then they get interrogated, and you have medical social workers. So there's a lot of these non-transparent, non-communicated processes that can make it stressful for especially the psychosocial or intellectual disability individuals. They do have equal justice to all, but the process is very, very long and complicated, actually. So in Thailand, that's not Brunei, sorry. Thailand, there is election, but very similar to Cambodia and Myanmar, where there is no accessibility from infrastructure to access to information in all levels. lacking assistive devices and technologies for all the election. Election law does not include PWD's perspective and input. This includes psychosocial, as well as that the government doesn't understand the diversity of disabilities, such as that they feel like PWDs are all just the same and not seeing the diversity of it. And here comes in the legal capacity and mental capacity that is not practiced in this. And again, when it comes to being part of parliament, there is in Thailand, but it's mostly 90% physically disabled disabilities. And there's no legal provisions to provide reasonable accommodation standards in terms of elections and access to justice. So again, we go back to access to justice relating where the government doesn't understand between legal capacity and mental capacity, which is severely lacking in justice system, and that there's no training for law enforcement on the disabilities and the CRPDs. So now we're going to go into the recommendations from this group. So group 1's recommendations is first and foremost to involve OPDs. We need the system to include women and children, and that NGOs, OPDs and NGOs are to be always consulted, close consultation and active involvement, and ensuring that the CRPD's implementation is a priority. We have to make sure that this includes ensuring that every country makes it an obligation to implement the CRPD, especially in Articles 2, 13, 21, and 29. Another recommendation that I forgot to write down here, but another recommendation is that we need to also, as yesterday's mentioned, specify PWDs to ensure governments understand the diversity of disabilities. So PWDs, women and children, PWDs, ethnicities, PWD, etc., etc. So they will not lump everyone as one, because when we're talking about access to justice, we have to remind them of the legal capacity and the mental capacity, which is very important in this context. So that was from Soala for the recommendation. That is all from Group 1. Is there anything you'd like to add, Sister Glenn? No. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you from Group 1. Is there any question from other group, or just a kind of clarification of things that may echoing or endorsing or different completely from your original context, particular respective country, because it's only the Group 1 on Brunei, Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar, and Singapore, if any, if you also follow. Since everyone also having, okay, Bu Maulani, go ahead.
I just for the written statement, I think we have to show the variety of the policy of the government itself, so we can compare which one is the mechanism of the fulfillment of the rights of person with disability, which one is not. Yeah. So I think Sazali from Malaysia, do you have any mechanism of elections that are accessible for persons with disabilities? Because Sazali is here.
Yes, sure.
So while Sazali is, I would like to share that the process of election in Indonesia is not fully accessible, but they're already open for the accessibility of persons with disabilities by providing templates, by providing the tools of campaigns enough accommodated for a variety of persons with disabilities. So I think we have to mention this like a role model or something.
Something
Yes.
we can follow as samples.
Yes, yeah, following the samples, and also, but yeah, maybe how many percent from the ASEAN countries still in the situation of global something like that. So and also the legal capacity as well. Relating to the legal capacity, we might be given notes like Singapore, do you have any accessible legal capacity related to the mainly for the psychosocial with disability and intellectual with disabilities? So we have to compare a bit that not all country, but still a lot of country in the ASEAN level needs the similar actions. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Malani. Sally, Pak Sally, do you have want to respond?
Yeah. It's, the situation from Malaysia this way. Government actually tried their level best to actually improve, especially on the political election and also election matters. So people with disabilities are now being invited, for the consultation at the early stages. But it's just that it's not kind of like the other cross disabilities, only one or two that they could actually have access. They just call in for advice or consultation. And usually before the election, government will actually send, kind of like information as like to which section, which venue, or they call it like rules or anything, for people who are the voters who actually know their rights, where to go, and according to the information given or the data with their numbers, their IC, their name, address, and everything. And usually, election is actually being done at the school venue. And obviously, schools that are not for the disabled, it's non-accessible. So sometimes they overlook, and there are situations where people with disability on a wheelchair are given numbers or rooms on the upper level. So we kind of like highlighted that, and they actually did the immediate changes, and they kind of like changed according to the needs at that very moment, because they didn't have the information about people with disability much earlier. So after the following election, they kind of like prepared to say that people with disability and elderly just vote at the lower level, but not first floor and above. So we don't have any kind of like restriction, people with disability cannot vote. It's like once you are the citizen of the country, you have the right to vote. And for a blind person, they are also allowed, if they wanted or they request for someone to actually mark the voting card for them, because there is none of the voting card right now with Braille, so it's only the ordinary papers. So someone, the sighted people will actually, or a volunteer that come with them, are actually allowed to do that voting for them. So far, again, there is also an issue where people think, are saying that, could you actually rely on whoever is actually crossing or marking the vote for you? Yeah, that one we always kind of like, there's nothing much, or nothing can be said, because the most proper or right way is actually to have it in Braille. But at the moment, it's none, so it will be based on trust, whoever is actually doing it with them. And the complaints that comes, some of the parents of disability groups that are like, you know, for the intellectual disability, yeah, and others, where it's like they're severely disabled, family members would actually inform them that, you know, they don't have to do it, they don't know how to choose, and you know, there's so many things. It's like they've been told that many a time that, you know, they don't know how the system works and everything, so it's not that important for them to actually go for, to actually vote. So we also kind of like among the OPDs, we are actually looking at the possibility of how we can change issues or solve issues on that matters. So that's it from me.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Any other things? Okay. If no, then let's move to the group 2. We have another 20-minute maximum to wrap up the presentation, and then later on we move to the to develop the statement. I guess the rapporteur will work together with me and then trying to come up with the suggestion on the draft. So I pass to the representative of Group 2, who will present. Vika? Okay, give applause to Vika representing Group 2.
Because there's no typing, but the information is from member states.
Yes.
So I would like to inform the discussions from our group 2, consisting of Bapak Sazali, Ibu Hong Ha, and also Bapak Tong Chan. We're discussing about the issues on disaster risk reduction, climate change, and trafficking in persons. Disclaimer, we didn't discuss trafficking in person, Pak Ali, because we don't have any experience on that topic. So we only discuss about VRR and climate change.
Yes.
On the Vietnam experience, they have mainly problems on disaster such as typhoon, heavy rains, floods, and landslides. It's burdening or challenging the daily activity of persons with disabilities, and then also to participate in public life. So the laws and the image of persons with disabilities are also a big problems in Vietnam. How they are provided by the government of the recovery from the disasters such as a broken house, job losing, deprived meals, etc. And then another routine problems is about the accessibility on the emergency response, because there are no adequate accessibility to persons with disabilities. The data is available to help persons with disabilities regarding DRR, but as discussed, also helped by Bapak Arif in our group, that is it not reliable? I mean, we discussed that the government doesn't put exactly the emergency response at the place that's supposed to be. For example, the data is already available, but we don't know where and what emergency response that we should give to a person with disabilities. It goes the same to law PDR. The problems more or less happen in law PDR, but we would like to emphasize on the information related to early warning system, and then the location of shelter needed by person with disabilities. It's important. So the recommendation is we would like to encourage the government to provide a comprehensive early warning system and information regarding the emergency response and the upcoming disasters. The experience from Malaysia, as compared by Bapak Sazali, there is a floods and heavy rain too in Malaysia. The government is lacking of data and information. It's the same with the other countries, Laos and Vietnam, regarding the location, how to locate persons with disabilities, especially in the very chaotic situations such as disaster. So most of social workers and volunteers helping to look at persons with disabilities as being while being a victim. So they are needed. They needed the help by experts. By Pak Ghazali says, the experts are such as counselor, psychologist, and also those who needs for the traumatic impacts by the disaster for persons with disabilities. So it's not only regarding the accessibility who urgently also needed, but also the experts on another issues or topics. So there is an experience by the organization who Rising Fund also, not only by the government who gives the humanitarian aid, but the organization are also helping to provide clothes and blankets to the person with disabilities who are being victims. So we encourage the aids, the humanitarian aids, to be adequate, not only in the accessibility but also in the equipment. That's it from Malaysia. The recommendation that we can summarize from the discussion of two topics is the government give the literacy on disaster prevention, mitigation or resilience, or disaster reduction. As advised by Bapak Arif in our discussion, maybe we can use the terminology of disaster reduction. So we'd like to have the maybe capacity building or literacy on the disaster risk reduction for persons with disabilities, especially OPDs. We would like also to suggest the emergency facilities that complies with the CRPD articles, especially accessibility and reasonable accommodation. We want to push the reliable data regarding the location of persons with disabilities, early warning system disasters, and professional who can help and provide humanitarian emergency response. The last one is recommendation on the training and capacity building to the government officials, especially on providing professional service officers, volunteers, and personal assistants. So as the experts, the OPs can also be the trainer and expert to provide the training and capacity building to those stakeholders. The question about the role of organization of persons with disabilities in the ASEAN Political Security Community in ASEAN. We discussed it shortly. Hopefully it can be discussed much more in the plenary this session. So we talk about the ASEAN Disability Forum position as the organization of persons with disabilities. We think that IDF should be the bridge or consultant to the issues of persons with disabilities. IDF can be a partner to promote the rights of persons with disabilities. As the expert organization, we can also provide training and capacity building information regarding the election and accessibility, as also mentioned by Pak Sazali about the election issue. So we recommend the ASEAN Political Security Community to give us the knowledge and then the leadership capacity building, especially the engagement as the regional body in ASEAN, how to engage more strengthened and more frequently in the ASEAN level, especially on the political issues. In the political issues, there is ASEAN mechanisms such as ICHAR and ACWC. So hopefully, such as ASEAN Disability Forum has not been a member of ICHAR regularly. Maybe we can also be more included at that mechanism. So we recommend also to the government of ASEAN member state and its stakeholders to get the capacity building from ASEAN Disability Forum regarding the inclusive policy, and most importantly, how to interact with persons with disabilities and the stakeholders in ASEAN. Last question about the participation of the organization of person with disabilities in political security community. So how have been we involved in the point of view of Pak Sazali Malaysia, Bung Rohal from Vietnam, and Pak Tongchan from Lao PDR? They all have been involved as the part of ASEAN Disability Forum in the political security community meetings or agenda, mostly as part of ASEAN Disability Forum. But there are cases in Lao PDR and Vietnam that mostly they are easier to get involved in some SWOT meetings rather than HR meetings. It's because a new contact, changing position, etc. So now we are facing the challenging to get involved in the ASEAN political security community, specifically on HR. So maybe in the next recommendation, we would like to suggest to building partnership with FASE, in this case maybe HR, to involve in the policy making, monitoring and evaluation regarding the ASEAN political security community. We would like to be consultative body as well, or maybe in the HR there is a status under HR, right? Maybe they can give us capacity building to be the member, and then also being advisor or maybe the consultant for the ASEAN political security community, as there are example said by Bapak Sazali in the Federation of the Deaf. There is the consultant or advisor specifically for PWD. So hopefully in ASEAN Disability Forum can be those kind of organization or kind of role position in the ASEAN. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think it's very good, yeah, to have a lot of clearer recommendations, such as asking the political security cooperation provide space, yeah, in order us to really engage with them in the more solid manner. And then capacity building is also shared. Also in the first group, I also joined the discussion on the capacity building, especially that the legal enforcement, yeah, or legal enforcer also have to have a perspective on the person with disability. So I think it can be also later on make a consolidation about this training or capacity building that us as an expert, yeah, the PWD as an expert, to give them training, and also some other consideration on the issues, yeah, such as the risk of disaster, the region having a lot of risk of disaster, and so on and so forth. All right, is there any concern or question from, especially from group 1 to the group 2, if any, or within group 1, group 2, if you have anything to share? Okay, from group, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, so about human trafficking in terms of PWDs, I do have a bit of background in this one, mainly because of my time in Warsaw, Poland, because I was there for a convention, and as well as that in Brunei we have a society called Project Women, where we speak about human trafficking on women and gender-based violence. So one of them was human trafficking, and one of the main concerns was PWDs. So in terms of human trafficking for Brunei context, we actually acknowledge that we are how do you call it, transit area. We're not a holding area, transit area. We've actually realized that a lot of the times that they pass through when it comes to here. And so in terms of PWDs, we have actually found out that in certain social-economically challenged families, we have actually discovered a number of cases where some of the parents have actually, I don't know what the appropriate word is, but jual anak lah. yeah, they basically prostitution. They do prostitution of their children, and these children happen to be those who are psychosocially or intellectually challenged. Yeah, they cannot speak for themselves, and they are 80% of the time children. So as young as 14 years old, as young as 13 years old. We've had actually cases of this. So one of the suggestions that Bernardo Salam has is that exactly this access to justice became a very big issue here, and the political security is that we have ICHAR and SOMSWAT very much involved in ensuring our policies are clear. And so in 2021, after working on this, being on the steering committee since 2015, we finally had a Disability Act that actually mentions about protection of people with PWDs, especially in the context of sexual abuse. So one of the things that we're also working closely with is not just in terms of ICHAR for the human trafficking, but we are consistently updating them from the council, recognizing that PWDs are actually the most likely to be human trafficked out of the norm, mainly because they are majority either coming from a socially economically challenged background, or that they are coming from a house of neglect. So that's what we've actually identified. So here is where for me, that this is the issue. So the recommendations, I'm not saying that, because it's very new in Brunei, it's only been a few years that we're doing this, so there's actually not really best practices I can give. It's just that this constant consultation among the groups that we know are the most vulnerable. So those who are living in the slum areas, those who are living in, let's say, who've had troubled past, who were in the system before. So we have a few children who now are adults, about 18, but they came from households where the parents were incarcerated because of drugs or abuse, and so they were in the foster care system. And so these are the people that we have to keep in constant check with, because they're the ones who are most likely either going to be human trafficked for organs or whatever, or sexually human trafficked. Yeah. So that's the only thing I can add into this.
Wow, I think it's so much important how to get that information, and also later on can be included, I guess, during the development of the draft, because I think when it comes to the issues of political insecurity, the trafficking issues, transnational organized crime is always there, basically. So I think it's very important later on. Let's putting up that to give a protection that person with disability cannot be the victim of sexual violation or abuse, including human trafficking, something like that. I guess let's arrange the statement later on. All right. Anything else? Okay. Pak Arif, do you have something to add? Okay, Pak Arif, go ahead, Pak. We have few more minutes yet for bulan ini.
I think number one related to the recommendation or recommendation. We missed one issue that we discussed, then how to the heavy what is mainstream disabilities into the development process, planning, implementation, monitoring, and so on. So I think that's you can use the mainstreaming or whatever you choose.
Meaningful participation.
Could be from because most items are dealing with disaster.
Yeah. Disaster.
Not the RR yet. But we discussed already actually.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Arif. Okay, so now 1 minute to 4, meaning that let's proceed to the process afterwards. So my suggestion is that let's give a trust to two representatives coming from two groups to be our representative to draft the statement that will be brought up tomorrow. But later on, prior to the finalization, it will go to your email. your G drive or something, if you still having any suggestion or correction, please adding it that way on that. So that's my suggestion on Word. So then we don't need to go back here again, read going through again, and then we debate again. I don't think let's give a trust to, let's say, representative for group 1 and group 2, and then work with me as a facilitator. Maybe after dinner, I'm okay or either to spend to really support the development of the draft of the statement, and then right after we're done with it, we will emailing you, we will send it to you, maybe in the G drive format where you can have a suggestion if you have things to be added there. And then last but not least, we need to assign maybe 1 or 2 representatives to really speak tomorrow in front of the government. So my suggestion, again, please don't forget to also ask their response. So not just only we speak without any response. So I think please do also hear from their setting what they've been, accept or promise or things that they can respond back from to us. Otherwise, it will be like just like we drop everything in front of them and then they don't care. So we need to also have time or space to have a discussion or a Q&A session afterward, or even constructive dialogue if necessary. I don't know the setting will be, but that's, I guess, my suggestion. So how are we going to select our representative? Maybe any other suggestion? Pak Lim, go ahead.
Can I make a suggestion?
Go.
On how the shape of the statement is going to look like? Because what we've been doing for the last hour or so is to listen to annotated experiences that we feel in each country about the various subjects we were talking about, like trafficking, like the election and justice system and all that. So I think in interest of time, because we only got 3 minutes, so the 3-minute statement that we're going to make tomorrow has to be very short, sweet, and to the point.
Exactly.
And we can just highlight the issue to say, look, ADF would like to, bring to the attention of the APSC on the following thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I suggest don't go more than 5, because actually, if you talk more, I mean, if you highlight more, people are not going to listen to more than that. In fact, if you keep it to 3, that would be perfect.
Yes.
And then with that, then we can say, look, our position on these 3 points is this.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's good enough. And of course, to be mindful of what you just reminded us, ask them how do you feel about it.
Yeah. Thank you, Pak Lim. Yes, I think the way we also organize those grouping, I think it's also reflected, right? We don't go a lot, We really want to because IPSC, so political rights, including the law enforcement, just that, I guess. And then the cluster 7 can be about the disaster and the risk of disaster, and also about the recently about trafficking. Maybe 3 of them is just already covered up. Later on, we will explore also about the recommendations that already been discussed here, and then put it up on the wordings, so then we can take a look together afterwards. Now about the representation. Any idea, any suggestion how we select our representation to present for 3 minutes? Let's say, I don't think so. It will be strictly 3 minutes. It's okay, I guess. 5 minutes, I don't know.
I think with your kind permission and your indulgence, I think as the chair of ADF, I would like to perhaps make opening remarks.
Okay,
right?
the opening remark will be Pak
Yeah.
Lim, yeah.
And then gender balance, we need to have equally beautiful lady.
All right.
To do the, I think that would be impactful.
Sure.
For everybody to really understand what we can accomplish.
Thank you. This very good suggestion. Will be opening by the chair of IDF, it is by Kitilin, and then will be followed by one, at least to also, in the interest of time, only one for gender balance. So women representative. So it's open for women member of SJIDF who wanna sitting as a representation. So meaning that Vietnam and then Brunei, Laos, Cambodia. Who else? Yeah. Laos. No. So who wanna? Brunei, Vietnam, or Cambodia to present the result of the discussion for tomorrow in front of the officials, reading the statement together with Pak Lim. Yeah, we wanna after this, we will from the discussion recently. We will drafting it with bigger and who? Lucky draw or what? Brunei, Cambodia, Vietnam. Go.
No, I don't think I should be part because I was just mentioning to Mr. Man, it needs to be somebody with PWD.
Okay.
It has to be somebody with PWD.
Okay,
best
so
representation,
Cambodia or Vietnam. That will be the Vietnam.
Chair will appoint.
The chair will appoint. No.
Vietnam.
Vietnam. Okay. Let's have it. Yeah. Okay. So we also open. Yeah. To involve you. Maybe after dinner to just have a sit down. Around after dinner.
Sorry, after dinner I have.
Another arrangement.
Why don't you continue? Because I have the meeting, Zoom meeting at 7.
At 7. Yeah. I think we need to have a break a bit. Yeah. Otherwise it's too rush. And I can continue. I have a meeting at 5, but 4:45 I'm free. But I don't know from the organization, maybe at 4 you have a meeting, right? Or what? The arrangement like that.
Maybe we can ask Pak Arif, but it's not.
Pak Arif and Bu Maulani. Ya?
But at night maybe we will continue the Vietnam meeting.
Okay, night con. Okay, so maybe let's say we spend like around 30 minutes from now, like 4:30 until 5. What are we going to have that way? And then share to the Google Drive. We can get later on another suggestion from everyone basically. Is that okay that way?
Yeah, so leave us some time to prepare.
Yeah.
Yeah, continue now.
Okay. By that, I think I have to thank to everyone for contributing your assessment. Very valid because you are the one who really feeling it on the issues that we discuss, on the election, on the political rights, access to justice, disaster management, human trafficking, and so on and so forth. So by that, I think let's work on the document. Okay, by that, I'd like to give it back, pass the mic to organizer, speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Give applause to Bapak Daniel. Thank you so much, Bapak Daniel, for your facilitation this afternoon. Not for this morning, actually.
Yesterday.
Yeah, from yesterday.
Yesterday.
Fully support from Bapak Daniel. So Bapak Daniel will give us time for Sharifa and me to resume and continue the draft, and maybe we will have some statement or updates from Bapak Arif, but Bapak Arif is not here. After Bapak Arif updates on some updates on some issues to us, we will get ourselves free for continue on the dinner, and after dinner the economic meeting of ADF. Yeah, I will get a confirmation from Pak Arif. Thank you.